Today on the Topping Show, Matt Walsh reviews the theory that Charlie Kirk's killer may have been framed by his trans roommate. Jasmine Crockett says she does not feel safe as a black woman in the United States. Donald Trump trolls Fani Willis' hookup. Nissan might slash headrest in order to cut costs and stay afloat. And mac and cheese gets recalled. All of that and much more on the Topping Show. Thank you everyone for taking the time to tune in today. Today's episode of the Topping Show is proudly sponsored by Topping Technologies. Topping Technologies is an IT value-added reseller and services company with a special proficiency IT security. Heck, I see their founder at least twice a day. Gotta say he's quite handsome and brilliant. Ease me, see that's the joke. If you're an IT leader or a business owner, reach out to the team at sales@toppingtechnologies.com. Also, still giving away a free Flamethrower with every IT purchase, with Picatinny rail adapter, so it can mount it to any standard AR-15 like all awesome accessories can be. Go to toppingtechnologies.com and click the Flamethrower button to learn more and see me shooting a flamethrower. And lastly, trying to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so if you can click that button and tell your friends and your enemies, I would greatly appreciate it. Now, going over to the business part of the podcast, you have Nissan scrambling to cut costs, so much so they might just make less headrest. Now, this is brought to us thanks to Motor1.com, specifically Chris Perkins, who's a writer over there. And I'm sorry, I should put maybe a visual disclaimer on the screen. You're about to see some Nissan products, which, let's be honest, don't always look great. Even this one with the Nismo stitching. Here you can see the headrest of one of the Nismo series cars, which again, they're top trim level. Now, Chris says, quote, Nissan's comeback plan, fewer headsets. Nissan's cost czar needs to save $1.7 billion by April 2027. He's looking for savings everywhere, which, yeah, they're going to have to cut that cost dramatically. Now they say, quote, as part of his plan to save Nissan, new CEO Ivan is instigating 1.7 billion in cuts on variable cost. Ivan has a guy to do that job, Tatsu Tomata, who Automotive News refers to as Nissan's cost czar, which is fun. For months, Tomata has been soliciting ideas from employees and suppliers to save money while maintaining quality. I'm sorry, that was not meant to be written as a joke, I don't think. But yeah, let me say the Nissan quality. I mean, let's be honest, it's not the 90s anymore. I'm trying to remember when was the last time Nissan had a reliable product. Maybe the Nissan 300Z. I'm only partially exaggerating, but again, Nissan has a lot of issues. The number one being lack of reliability for the past like 15 years, with the Nissan Altima CVT transmission being the Achilles heel that really destroyed the company. The transmissions, they had an issue of, breaking apart and just grenading themselves. And that's why, for the most part, people don't buy Nissans anymore. But they say they have one idea to cut cost, headrest, or rather lack thereof. Now they say, quote, in an interview with Automotive News, Tomita says that reducing headrest variety in Nissan products could help save cash. Currently, a supplier for the headrest parts stores components in a warehouse the size of 2 tennis courts. Workers walk up to 30,000 steps a day picking out parts. Tomita says that Nissan could reduce the size and one step count by half. He says, quote, taking action is now what matters. We are thriving on execution. We need to improve the profit of each product, otherwise we won't be able to enjoy a sustainable business, unquote, which, where's this idea 25, 30 years ago? Again, Nissan is partially owned by Renault. They've had financial issues for decades. I'm actually surprised they made it thus far. They say, quote, in total, Tomita has, 4,000 cost-cutting ideas on his desk, and of those, he and his team have deemed 1,600 to be viable. Nissan will start implementing some of them by the end of the year, on its way to save $1.7 billion in savings by, again, March 31st, 2027. I'm sorry, I'll put more Nissan products on the screen. Ugh, there's a Nissan Leaf, which, yeah, it is a car. I say, some of the ideas seem to get Nissan out of outdated practices. Tomita said that Nissan uses a dye in its seat that doesn't fade under UV exposure. Seems great, but a standard that was in place in cars to use plain glass. Now cars have glass that blocks UV rays, so that the fancier dye is no longer necessary, which, yeah, that seems like an oversight. You've been using that special dye for years, when again, the glass has been preventing that for a while. So again, that's a good catch. So again, all these costs, even that just saves $5 per unit, everything adds up in the aggregate, because again, you multiply that by all the vehicles that they make. Again, all of those savings will add up. They continue saying that Nissan is also looking to relax some of its product standards so they can use the same parts as other automakers. It's also looking at Chinese suppliers, which are highly efficient and have great economies of scale, driving costs down, which they do. However, not all the time, but many of the time, people associate with China with pejorative, cheap junk that breaks, which, again, is not always the case. Apple products are actually made there by Foxconn, Dell, Hewlett-Packard. Well, maybe I shouldn't reference some of them because they're not that reliable. But again, China has the ability to make very reliable products, but in many ways, they're also shite, as people across the pond would say. I don't know who pronounces it that way, it just sounds funny. But again, that would reduce cost. They say to me to explain that these costs ballooned as Nissan chased volume in the pursuit to simply sell more cars more quickly. Nissan was less careful about controlling cost, and when sales volume plateaued, the company was left with high costs and complexities for cars it wasn't selling in high enough volumes. But that's a tricky line to walk, cutting costs in a way that the consumer doesn't see. He says, quote, "We should not say this is desensitizing. We don't say yes to every idea." He argued that the saving costs in some areas will allow it to invest in research and development, improving its products, which, I don't know, again, that's not supposed to be a joke. In theory, they can improve the quality. I hope they do. But again, I mean, this is Nissan trying to make a comeback. And again, they do have billions in the bank. It's not like they're going to be out of business tomorrow or, within 5 minutes, so to say. But again, it might sound like a silly idea, but this actually will make a big difference. Some people might complain, oh no, the headrest look too familiar, too similar. So many of the cars will have the same headrest. But it's a Nissan. You're not buying it because of visual appeal or performance, except maybe the Nissan Z, which is a fun little toy. Sports car. I'd love to get one someday. Not my budget now. But, I mean, there's a reason so many of these companies in the automotive industry use so many of the parts across so many vehicles. I mean, it's almost comical. Look at the Honda Civic turn signal light. It's the same on the Honda Odyssey, same as the Honda Civic. I believe even the Honda Accord has it. A lot of them share the same parts and components. And with Nissan, the main reason people buy it, well, it used to be the cheapest of the Japanese cars you can get, minus Mitsubishi, which is somehow still in business. But they buy it because it used to be pretty reliable. But let's be honest, the big reason is also Nissan Credit, which if you have a Pulse, they'll get you a car today because they will give credit to darn near everyone and anyone. So that's really what has been keeping Nissan alive, I would argue, the past 5-10 years in terms of how they're making their sales. I mean, the downside is, repo is a big thing, and a lot of those cars tend to be repossessed. But in terms of simplifying the vehicles, making the same headrest for many of them, I don't think that'll hurt their sales. I think it'll just reduce cost, reduce complexity, again, from logistics, install, what have you. And I think that will be a good cost-saving benefit to the consumer because, again, they don't have to have a fancy headrest for a Nissan Altima. You're going to have BAE energy no matter what. So I think it's a good move by Nissan. Again, I hope they make it. I want people to have as many products possible, and you have the best solutions always brewing to the surface. And Nissan has a couple cool vehicles. Unfortunately, they did kill the GTR. Again, the Nissan Z is a fun little, twin turbo V6 with a stick shift. That's really nice. I appreciate the fact that they have that. But it'll be interesting to see how many of these are actually implemented successfully, and the consumer can tell, and could it possibly take some of that money and make the vehicles actually more reliable? I hope so, but let me know your thoughts because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the Cultural Apart podcast, you have Matt Walsh on the theory that Charlie Kirk's killer was actually framed by his trans roommate. Now, this brought to us thanks to Matt Walsh responding to Captive Dreamer. Now, Captive Dreamer says, quote, "Released text messages below between the killer and his roommate." And he's saying, remember when I engraved these books? His roommate says he knew. Let me actually try to maximize this on the screen so I can read it. Now, the killer says, quote, "I'm still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in..." Oh, let's see here. Can't read that. I don't know why it's blurry. "Be stuck for a little while longer. Shouldn't be long until I'm back home. But God grabbed my rifle still. To be honest, I hope to keep it secret till I die of old age. I'm sorry to involve you." Now, the roommate allegedly says, "You weren't the one that did it, right?" Now, the killer, I guess we should say alleged killer, Robinson says, quote, I'm sorry." And again, this is all captured in a Discord chat, apparently. So he's admitting in digital format that he did the crime, which, again, I'm not saying he's the smartest guy on the planet, but anyone with a modicum of intelligence would probably not do that. Now, the roommate says, "I thought they caught the person. Now Robinson said, quote, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of the side of the town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there is still one vehicle lingering." Now the roommate says, "Why?" And again, the alleged Robinson says, "Why did I do it?" The roommate goes, "Yeah." He said, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they will be moved out. I haven't seen anyone about them finding it." The roommate goes, "How long have you been planning this?" Robinson allegedly said, "A bit over a week, I believe. I get close, but he said, sorry, a little bit over a week, I believe. I can get close, but there's a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it." He continues saying, quote, "I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got my vehicle. I'm worried that my old man wouldn't, about what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I think it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints that I leave in the bush, whatever I changed my outfits. Didn't have the ability to or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it, and I'll hope they don't find my prints. How the F will I explain this? Explain losing it to my old man. Only thing I left behind was rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I engraved the bullets? The F and messages were mostly a big memes. I see this, notices bulge, and talks about adult stuff for a sec there. And again, this is all apparently on Discord. And Matt Walsh responds saying, quote, "I'm leaning very strongly towards the theory that his text exchange was scripted as a way to absolve the boyfriend. It's almost exactly what Walter did at the end of Breaking Bad. This feels like a strategy they cooked up from watching too much TV," which, yeah, it sounds pretty much like that. And I'm very skeptical. Again, if you're living with someone, pretty easy to grab incriminating evidence or create some for that matter. You have their DNA evidence, they got their towel in the bathroom. Pretty easy to just, put on some gloves and take that. Grab out the rifle, which presumably he used a couple times per year, so his fingerprints are already on it. And yeah, this gets more and more unusual. Which is why I'm more and more skeptical personally that this is a lone actor who went after Charlie Kirk. I'm not saying there's nation states involved necessarily, but a lot of people are benefiting because Charlie Kirk is no longer with us. And yeah, the mainstream media is definitely not happy. This is yet another example that is not fitting their narrative in terms of the shooter's background. Now, one of the comments, one of the first ones, again, this went viral, got 8 million views and 88,000 likes. One of the first ones comes to us thanks to Emilia Henderson. Now, she says, quote, a little Jim from the Office of MMA pointing at the whiteboard. And he says, quote, "Charlie Kirk didn't create psychopaths. He just showed us who they were." Got 4.4 thousand likes. Pure Golf says 100%, getting 285 likes. David Santa Clara says, quote, "Absolutely, there's a nationwide manhunt and he's writing propaganda." He 100% knew, getting 947 likes, which, yeah. Ian Miles Chong says, quote, "Yep, pair of terminally online guys who watch too much TV," getting 398 likes. Let's see. Mag1775 says, quote, "There it is, straight from the assassin's own text. He planned it, he confessed it, he even talked about engraving bullets. No random act, no confusion, no misidentification. He admitted his motive. I had enough of his hatred. That's just the narrative the left pumped out into his head until he believed that murder was justified." They got 121 likes. Which, you also have Trump Tracker, who's a contrarian I follow just because life gets a little bit boring if you're in an echo chamber. He says, quote, "Does MAGA ever stop with conspiracies?" Getting 25 likes. Was he ratioed? No, it was not ratioed by number of likes. The first response was Greg. Then he says there's never a hard line they won't cross. Drone Tech says, check out on Reddit. They're convinced that Donald Trump made the transcript. Gain 1 like. Again, conspiracies. An age-old saying is yesterday's conspiracy theory is today's reality or news headline. We've seen for, 20 years that a lot of conspiracies turned out to be true. So, anytime something happens, I'm willing to entertain conspiracy theories. Because, again, sometimes they turn out to be true. We also have Miss B, and he has a picture of the guy holding the mug meme. And he says here, he's a far right. Wait a second. His girlfriend a dick. Getting 5.1 thousand likes. Mirthful Moments has a picture of a gentleman wearing a jacket, or he's a dress shirt and a tie. They label him as far-right extremist. He it's Charlie Kirk, debates college students, preaches gospel and starts a beautiful family, wants open dialogue. And you have far-left extremism, the guy in a dress with short purple hair, and it says, we'll murder you, and it's dark humor because it happened. We'll murder you for speaking in public, hates godliness, and spreads Satanism, hates their parents, wants to silence all oppression, gained 1.3 thousand likes. Let's see. Also have, what is this? Travis says, tuck in your bulges, girls. We've got Republicans to fight. Getting 571 likes. An MMA of a guy in a dress and a horse. The Immortal says, if you think it's okay to assassinate someone because you disagree with them, that makes you a fascist. Because that's what actual fascists do. Pass it on, gain 1.4 thousand likes. Which, yeah, it blows my mind how many people are responding in the comment section the past couple weeks on people fascists for supporting Charlie Kirk. And actually cheering on the fact that he was assassinated. Farewell Picks also has a picture of Charlie Kirk saying in 2026, vote the evil Democrats out of the office and marry Charlie Kirk, gained 3,000 likes. Mirthful Moments also says Charlie Kirk wasn't silenced because he spoke, he was silenced because our children listened. Think about that, gained 1.1 thousand likes. Trying to see if there's any contrarian comments here. Miss B says, mercy to the guilty is cruelty to the innocent, gained 1.2 thousand likes. Eleanor Rose says, the real author of the text messages. And Steve Buscemi from the age-old comic, was it SNL? Where he dresses up as a teenager with a skateboard and goes, oh, hello, children, or something like that. No, that was South Park Chef. Bad impression, obviously. But yeah, that got 1.6 thousand likes. Someone by the name of I Will Not Eat the Bugs says, I think you're right. And what's all this my love crap? Even for a trans-loving homo, that's pretty gay. Gave 1.9 thousand likes. Let's see. I also have Solid Snake saying, Matt, the boyfriend looks more like the surveillance photos than Tyler does. Which, also those photos I thought were AI enhanced. May explain some of the discrepancies. I did get, again, 445 likes. Let's see. Well, Architect says, quote, hey, remember me? Let's see, yeah. The radical who successfully shot Trump, but thank God Trump did not pass. I got 323 likes. Matt Couch says, there's no way this is a real conversation that took place. They think we're stupid. Game for 977 likes. Because, yeah, I mean, that is it's such a blunt conversation. So it seems, yeah, it does not seem like a natural, organic conversation. That conversation is more awkward than the ones I have. And Lord knows I'm awkward as hell. That is almost like a robot who wrote that. Or an actor or something. And you also have Texas Dog Dad says, the details do not add up. Grandpa saw the rifle and it's so unique. No, it's the most generic hunting rifle out there. It's a $2,000 scope. No, it's not. Can't see what it is, but I've been selling optics for 15 years. That's not a $2,000 scope. And we also heard someone else gave this to him. Maybe it was bad info, but easily could be another rabbit hole. This is not adding up. He's covering for his boyfriend who probably knew about it before. They got 949 likes. We also have Savannah says, no way this is real. It's scripted and rehearsed. The two of them likely planned it together. The trans boyfriend destroyed evidence, saw him engraving bullets, knew he had a gun. They committed the crime together, gained 1.2 thousand likes. Kentucky Girl also says, he messed up when he said, remember how I engraved the bullets. That proves the roommate saw him preparing at a minimum. The boyfriend is not an accessory, the boyfriend is an accessory, if not a co-conspirator. Gained 1.1 thousand likes. And again, we'll see, how many of these folks actually see justice and see their day in court. But yeah, let's just say when it comes to this message interaction, I'm very skeptical to say the least. But let me know your thoughts and comments because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the political part of the podcast, you have Representative Jasmine Crockett saying she doesn't feel safe. Though, statistically speaking, she very much is. Now, this brought to us thanks to End Wokeness. And he actually just reposts what she says. So without too much further ado, this is Representative Jasmine Crockett.
Director. And frankly, when people sit around and say things like, oh, we're happy because now we feel safe. I don't know who feels safe in this country except for the white supremacist. Because I specifically, as a black woman, definitely don't feel safe. Director.
So she says as a black woman in America, she does not feel safe. Which, again, her specifically should be feeling extremely safe because, again, she's a politician who has security. She's one of the most privileged people in the United States. I would also argue she gets overpaid, like most politicians. She's making six figures and she has health care. I don't know why they have those nerdy leftist glasses all the time. I don't know why this bugs me. There are 10,000 plus different glass frame glasses frames designs out there. Granted, I'll give you the fact that they're made by 3 companies, but they always choose the thickest, dumbest leftist glasses out there. I don't know why they do it. But yeah, she says, I don't feel safe in America. Which, no, you very much should feel safe. When you look at who's getting arrested, who's being victimized, who's not just being killed, but who's being assaulted, African-American women are they're one of the safest groups out there. And I actually thought, let's dive into the data. Now, this is, I just asked Grok, and I was wondering, maybe there's a difference between male and female. Maybe. Well, let's look into the data. And when looking into it, by gender, and some of these statistics are a little dated, but they're as recent as 2022. And hold up Grok really quick. And they mostly reference the National Crime Victimization Survey and the Bureau of Justice Statistics, or BJS, that provides most of the data. And in terms of, violent victimization per 1,000, white were 24, black were 21.8, Hispanic were 22.6, Asian were 13.6. Then, I didn't see this coming, but American Indian, well, 2 or more races, American Indian, Alaskan Native, or 2 or more races, are 58.9 per 1,000. When it comes to male versus female, I was shocked. It's actually about the same. So again, this is violent victimization per 1,000. Male were 23.5. Female was 23.4. So about the same. Now, when it looks at homicide per 100,000, yeah, African Americans are actually much higher. Not female. So now this is again male and female per 100,000 homicide statistics. Again, this is from 2023 data from BJS. White was 3.2, black was 21.3, Asian was 1.4, American Indian or Alaskan was 4.2, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander was 6.5. Now, the biggest delta of all this data is, again, the men versus women. Now, again, this is also from 2023. This is all men, all women. Homicide victimization per 100,000. Female was 2.6. Male, 9.3. The male rate is over 3.5 times higher. It is insanely high. Now, if you want to jump back to, zoom out to all victims again, who is being hurt the most? African American men. Those are the ones that are being hurt the most. Again, this is per 100,000. Black males aged 15 to 24, 74.6 per 100,000. The second highest was African American males aged 24 to 44, 70. Now, then the next highest is American Indian, age 15 to 24 was 24.5 per 100,000. American Indian, then 25 to 44, was 33.5 per 100,000. Now, which one actually has some of the lowest ones? Now, black females age 15 to 24, 9.6. Black females 24 to 44, 9.1. Which again, it's great. I want to get all these numbers lower. I want to get everyone safer. Statistically speaking, she is one of the safest groups out there, bar none. Again, the highest one is African American or black males, 74.6, age 15 to 24. Which again, this is also amalgamation of culture. You argue a lot of the fatherless homes, which again, Democrats helped incentivize that in every community, went up the greatest in the African American community. But yeah, statistically speaking, she is, not just because she's a government employee, so she's got protection, so she's safe. But yeah, African American women, they're some of the safest in the United States. Now she says, I feel, which again, age-old saying, facts don't care about their feelings, though Ben Shapiro did forget people vote by their feelings. That's, I think, one of the reasons why Republicans have lost so often throughout history, one of the variables. But yeah, she's one of the safest. Now, in terms of how do we fix this to get everyone's murder rate or everyone's homicide rate decrease, I think there are many ways to do that. One would be increased police presence in high crime areas. Also, actually reinforce and celebrate the nuclear family, get fathers back in the home, decrease gang activity. there are a myriad of reasons or methodologies we could do to decrease these homicide rates. But yeah, for her to say, I feel like I'm still at risk. Again, I don't want anyone to feel like they're at risk. I think, again, I'm a big fan of defending yourself with the Second Amendment. That's why I'm not a fan of a lot of Democrats trying to disarm people. I believe concealed carry should apply everywhere, as long as you're cognizant of your abilities. You should be able to defend yourself, not just inside your home. Many states do permit this, some better than others. That'd be another way to decrease some of these homicide rates. You're actually allowed to protect yourself everywhere. And yet she says she feels like she's not safe. Again, statistically speaking, she's in one of the safest areas. Now, this only took me about 5 minutes of research, barely. All I did was ask Grok, and it did a bunch of research for me, and I checked other couple of sources. But again, most voters won't do this. They should. And people are roasting her in the comments section, as they should. But she's actually probably going to get more political donations of this. People will give her more votes in the future because of this, if she's not redistricted to have a job. And it works. I'm hoping that politically and culturally we're moving, so to say, the United States to the fact that, no one actually start to do some research. Perhaps I'm being foolishly optimistic to think this. Now, go to the comments, and again, this got 150,000 views and 3,000 likes. One of the first comments comes to us thanks to, I'm a little biased. Guys, especially handsome and brilliant. Me, the Topping Show, which I say, quote, says the most privileged piece of shit in the United States, LMFAO. Also, statistically speaking, African American women are quite safe in the United States, getting 19 likes. Again, not the most liked comment, but I think the most awesome one. Obviously, a little biased. The Topping Show on X. The first real, top comment comes to us thanks to America Papa Bear, who says, quote, cannot wait to never see her again after redistricting, getting 535 likes. Planet of Memes, or as I call him, Memes, or as I call him today, a disappointment because he does not have a meme. A little disappointing, just text. I'll say this alleged planet of memes says, quote, Jasmine Crockett is nothing more than a race hustler. She only exists by stoking the flames of racism, getting 296 likes. Which, again, that's a lot. It's worked for a lot of politicians for decades. And for her, it's one of the contributing factors of why she did get elected. You also have Amelia Henderson saying, quote, she can go back. And it says Rome 2,000 years ago, beautiful marble Colosseum. Or sorry, that's just regular building. Excuse me. And then you say Africa like an hour ago, it's a hut getting 209 likes, which, again, Dave Chappelle kind of got, again, the sub-Sahara. There are parts of Africa like that, but Dave Chappelle, I think, kind of put that theory or pejorative view away decades ago, where, again, he went to Africa after the really famous issue with Comedy Central, where he declined the contract. And again, he was at malls, he was in buildings. Also, Amelia Henderson says, quote, the United States doesn't have a race problem, it has a race problem. It's a problem race, which, no, it's culture. That got 103 likes. Paul Zupa says she's boring. All she does is play the race card, getting 127 likes. James Savad says, try being a white woman. Got 1.5 thousand likes, and it's a Ukrainian refugee whose life was stolen from her by that piece of shit on the public transit who stabbed her. Miss B says, let me ask you a question. It's Miss Crockett in a Muppet form, which I can't critique too much people, or I can't give too much critique to people who mispronounce things or say things funny, because Lord knows, when I started the show especially, I spoke faster than Ben Shapiro, more awkwardly than Joe Biden trying to climb upstairs, and probably mispronounce things just as much as Joe Biden, so I don't have much ground to stand on. Though again, I've tried to get better and better, which is why I say click that subscribe button. When I first started the show, barely anyone tuned in, well, maybe family. And I spoke again fast than Ben Shapiro and more awkwardly than Joe Biden trying to come upstairs. But as I got more subscribers, I got slightly better at the speaking. Granted, some people might argue it's just a modicum of improvement, barely anything at all, though statistically speaking, I would argue, did get a little bit better. So again, click that button and tell your friends and your enemies. Your enemies might be so enamored and impressed by your choice of material, a podcast, that they might actually become your friends. Or they hate me so much, they hate you because you made that suggestion, and then the enemy makes a physical altercation. So maybe I shouldn't recommend that. But either way, make for a fun, interesting story. Now, you also have Mrs. B saying, I found one of Jasmine Crockett's eyelashes. It's a torn up tire, getting 237 likes. The Immortal says, they brainwashed you. And this guy with a trans progress Islamic flag, which I know is a thing. A sweater says Black Lives Matter. Got CNN and Hammer Sickle, all social media, and some jabs in him. And the guy beside him just has American flag and regular clothes, says, really? Getting 237 likes. Danny Mandio says black women are more likely to commit murder than white men. This is from FBI incident-based reporting system in 2021, where, let's see here, Hispanic, black man, black female. Yeah, so black female murder per 100,000 was 5.8, while white man murder per 100,000 was 3.5. I suppose you also have Hispanic murders per 100,000, 11.9. Well, I missed that big number in the middle. Black male murders per 100,000 was 64.4. Lowest was female murders per 100,000, 0.7, which they are busy with their cats and drugs from the big pharma. I'm only partially kidding, but I can't but wonder how many of them are in a constant daze. But nevertheless, let's see here. Not seeing any contrarian comments. Mrs. B has Jasmine Crockett with a bowling ball. She says, "Magic 8 ball, am I stupid?" And she shakes it, and a bowling ball says nothing. Getting 114 likes. Also have no context to video. Says the cartoon of the guy riding a bike and puts a ruler in the front spoke. And a guy puts a ruler in his front spoke. He says, "Damn white people." And a guy walks up to him and goes, "Hey, that's my bike." And the guy's crying, "Help me." White people getting 127 likes. But again, I think, the average person who already votes Libertarian or Republican, they probably already do their own research. They know that Jasmine Crockett is lying. Again, a lot of people out there don't do any research. They just take the headline, which no matter who you listen to, whether it be people on the right, people in the middle, people on the left, just take 2 or 3 minutes to look, just, do a little bit of research beyond the headline, just confirm. Now, I would also argue, absorb as much material as you can on the left and the right and the middle so you can make a more informed decision, more informed opinion, and more, I would argue, more content the better. But yeah, Jasmine Crockett, again, she's going viral. She'll probably get more donations because of this, but let me know your thoughts because, as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Other interesting political news, you have Donald Trump trolling Fani Willis' hookup, and it goes viral on social media. This is brought to us thanks to Donald Trump himself, which he actually just does a little trolling here with a little video editing.
Did you go to a cabin with Miss Willis ever?
Ever?
Ever.
Oh. A bunch of picture compilations of Fani Willis, which... Oh, he's thinking. Oh.
No.
Never gone to a cabin with this.
No.
And spoiler alert, he did, as well as take cash campaign funds and more. And this went pretty viral. I got 21.4 million views, as well as 240,000 likes. Well, the first comment comes to us thanks to some jerk trying to sell t-shirts, so we'll skip right past him. Greg is the first comment saying, quote, "Had to quadruple check this wasn't Trump's parody account," getting 19,000 likes, which, yeah, it's hilarious. Also, where's the Epstein files again? It's hilarious, Trump, don't get me wrong. Why don't you get rid of the income tax? Come on. Get busy. But no, actually, I'm not kidding. Come on, hurry up. You also have Valentina Gomez says, quote, "It's insane that Fani Willis is not in prison. Free Derek Chauvin," getting 2.8 thousand likes. The quartering says, "LOL, Donald never forgets," getting 1.1 thousand likes. Also have TikTok just laughing, getting 4,000 likes. Matt Van Sol says, "Ha ha ha, oh my goodness, he didn't," get 861 likes. America AF says, "If you support President Trump, I will follow you," getting 1.6 thousand likes. David Sullivan, pronouns, I will respect his pronouns, are prosecute Fauci, says, quote, "Thou shalt not lie." Looks like Jesus holding up bags and says, "Democrats kicked me out. Trump invited me back in," getting 423 likes. Rick Suit says, "Posting Fanny's feet in a historic thread." It's a picture of Fani wearing a dress with high heels, which got 521 likes. I don't know if feet, are those good or not? I don't know. Gunther Eagleman says, quote, "Well, I know that Nathan Wade won't get any good nights of sleep in the near future," getting 1.5 thousand likes. Paul Zupa says, "The GOAT never disappoints," getting 488 likes. America Pop Bear says, quote, "Fani for prison," getting 187 likes. Trump Tracker, there he is, our contrarian. Had to scroll down to find him. He says, quote, "Totally normal for a president to post," getting 96 likes. Was he ratioed, though? Clark Clint, Tokyo Superman, says, "After Joe Biden, I'm just happy for Trump having a sense of humor," getting 10 likes. So he was not ratioed. Worthwhile Moments, which I guess I'll try Trump's voice. It might be the worst Trump impression you hear all year, but nevertheless, I'm going to give it a go. Worthwhile Moments says, "LMFAO, it's Donald Trump on an airplane." He goes, My God, Pakistan looks like a shithole. And the guy goes, "Yes, sir, that's London." Which, as they say in London, Allah Akbar. How they have changed. I got 3.6 thousand likes. Not me, but, MMA. Scotty has a picture of Homer Simpson looking funny. Says, "Look at me." Or he's labeled Democrat. "I saved the country from fascism by shooting a kid or guy talking to college kids." Getting 1,000 likes. Scotty also says, "The Charlie Kirk assassination has done a great job of identifying the worst of humanity. And it turns out they're all Democrats." Getting 2.6 thousand likes. Whale psychiatrist TM has an AI generated picture of Donald Trump and Melania in bed. And Trump's in bed with his phone, tweeting that. Getting 3.3 thousand likes. Madar Havi has a picture of Trump that says raise the bar. Kamala Harris failed the bar. AOC says worked at the bar. Nancy Pelosi says lives at the bar. Joe Biden can't spell the word bar. Hillary Clinton should be behind bars, getting 2,000 likes, which I should say for the record, Hillary Clinton is a beautiful, intelligent woman, has not had a disproportionate amount of people around her commit suicide, like 28 plus people, and I don't own any rope and plan to live a long, healthy life. Just want to throw that out there. Just so you know. I also have the right to bear memes. Has a picture of, generated picture of Fani Willis and him. It says, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Getting 4.7 thousand likes. So it's nice to see Trump is back with the memes. Obviously hilarious. And we'll see if, maybe he actually repeals income tax. Hopefully, knock on wood, we'll get some of that more promises delivered. But let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Going over to the business blunder of the day, you have mac and cheese being recalled, but not to fear, it's crappy one no one likes. Now, this brought to us thanks to Chicago Parent, specifically David Arkin, who's a writer over there. And they say, quote, popular mac and cheese recalled for hidden allergens. But it doesn't matter because it's vegan. So, 18 people bought this. And ironically, kind of funny enough, it's supposed to be a recall. They actually got a better product than originally intended. Spoiler, the real deal. Now, again, this is credited to David Arkin, who writes at Chicago Parent. And they say, quote, according to a press release from Gooder Foods, which, Gooder, this sounds ridiculous, grammatically inaccurate, I think. Gooder, G-O-D-E-R, almost as dumb as having a name like Topping. Oh, wait. Nevertheless, they say, quote, the company has recalled several lots of its Goodless mac and cheese products because they may contain undeclared allergens. Which, Goodless does imply that there's no good in it, so I suppose that is an accurate assessment of the product. They say the recall, made in coordination with the United States Food and Drug Safety Administration, follows reports of allergic reactions. They say, what's affected? Vegan is believin', which also sounds ridiculous. Plant-based white cheddar with spirals, 5 lots. They say, oh no, may contain milk. That's the recall, which, yeah, it contained the real thing. Whoops. They also note that Here Comes Truffle, which was a good kind of pun or parody of, that's good wordplay. I appreciate that. They're creamy truffle flavored cheddar and shells. They also, may contain cashews, which, it's a pretty expensive fancy nut. Not in my budget, but that's pretty natural and good. They say the recalled products were produced April 7th to April 15th, 2025, and distributed nationwide between April 9th and August 5th, 2025, according to the press release. They say that what families need to know. The press release notes that milk and cashews can cause severe or life-threatening allergic reactions, which they can, but thank God not a lot of people have that. Again, if you have kids especially, be careful, or the elderly. They know that Gooder Foods, again, silly name, reported 6 allergic reactions linked to the truffle product and linked 2 to the vegan is believed product. But thankfully, again, they didn't pass away. Now they say, quote, what do you do if you have these? Do not eat them, which I would argue, that's advice for all these products, just kind of the standard, you should not eat them. They also say, return them to a store for a refund. Anyone experiencing a allergic reaction should contact a healthcare provider immediately, according to the press release. Which, again, is kind of funny, ironic. Oh yeah, that's the one thing going for you. Oh yeah, and you got stuff in there that shouldn't be there. But thankfully, again, probably only about 15 people bought this product to begin with, so should be very costly of a recall, and won't affect more than, again, 3 people who might watch this channel. But all seriousness, again, I gotta be careful. People have allergic reactions. More and more people have allergies in the United States these days for some reason. And I gotta say, having a food product where, not accurately representative, gotta say, Goodles, you are certainly the business blunder of the day. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback. Let me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.